Head and neck cancers are a very broad term and it contains many different types of cancers and many different places that it may originate. The lifestyle factors that contribute are essentially tobacco and alcohol. And tobacco could be in any form. It could be smoked tobacco, which we see a lot of in the West and also in our country as well. Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Deepak Sareen. I'm a head and neck surgeon and I work at Medanta in Gurgaon. And today, respecting the Head and Neck Cancer Week, we'll be discussing a little bit about head and neck cancers. So head and neck cancers are a very broad term and it contains many different types of cancers and many different places that it may originate. For example, the cancers that arise in your mouth and throat are one group. Then also tumors or cancers that arise in our thyroid gland, which is in the lower part of the neck, also come under head and neck cancers, as well as cancers and tumors that can arise in our other glands in the head and neck, like in the parotid glands or other parts of the face and neck. So it's a very diverse group of cancers that get clubbed under a single heading called head and neck cancer. So head and neck cancers, if we want to look at them, it's best to look at different types. And for our country, India, possibly the most relevant type is mouth and throat cancer, because that is by far the commonest one we'll encounter in our country. And the lifestyle factors that contribute are essentially tobacco and alcohol. And tobacco could be in any form. It could be smoked tobacco, which we see a lot of in the West and also in our country as well. It could also be chewed tobacco in the form of gutka or when taken in pan. Tobacco combined with alcohol are by far the two biggest risk factors that contribute to mouth and throat cancers. Interestingly, supadi, like in many products that don't contain tobacco but only contain supadi, is also now known to be a precancerous predisposition, which was earlier very debatable. So these are, as we can understand, these are very common in our country, and especially chewed tobacco. It's prevalent in large belts of India, which is why India is actually the mouth cancer or head neck cancer capital of the world. We see the maximum percentage of these patients than any other country. So other than tobacco and alcohol, which work synergistically, and that means the two together are worse than single. The new emerging risk factor that we are preparing for is something called HPV related throat cancer. So HPV or human papilloma virus is a sexually transmitted virus and transmitted by oral sex. So if you get infected by HPV, it goes and embeds into the DNA of your cells in your throat, and it can gradually convert these cells into cancer, and that typically develops in your throat, in the back of your tongue or in the tonsil area. In the West, this is an actual epidemic. In many cities now, 90% of throat cancer that they will treat is HPV related, not smoking related, which was the traditional cause of this cancer. And we are also seeing in India now increasing number of patients who come with HPV related throat cancer. And we expect over the next year, decade and a half, this number is really going to go up. Vaping is a relatively recent phenomenon, so we really don't have data that stretches over decades to know what the true risk factors are. It was propagated as a safer alternative to smoking, and the youth have really taken to it. A large proportion of youth now will do vaping under the false presumption that it's completely safe. So let me elaborate. It may be less damaging than, let's say, smoking, but vaping also includes taking a number of chemicals directly into your lung. They cause lung damage, they cause brain damage, they may potentially cause cancers. We just won't know till several years have gone by and several thousands of people who use it have been evaluated to see how much the exact risks are. So I think if you have to conclude for vaping, it's probably okay to say it might be a safer alternative to smoking, but it's not safe. If somebody never uses tobacco, they should definitely not take up vaping, thinking I have a safe option here. So when you quit tobacco intake or alcohol intake, your risk for developing a cancer comes down. And it's a gradual decline. It will take several years and decades for the risk to keep reducing. It won't reduce the next week after you quit. It's several years. But even after decades, you will carry a small risk of cancer developing, because some of the damage that these carcinogens or cancer causing chemicals which are there in tobacco and alcohol do is permanent in our cells. Our body can repair a lot of it, but it often can't repair it back to original normal self. So I think once you've taken tobacco, even if you quit, which is excellent because your risk will reduce substantially, but the risk is never eliminated. So one needs to be careful and be watchful if there's ever been tobacco consumption ever in their lifetime.